Well, I guess I'm the queen of technology. Woo. You know, it's great to be here with everyone. I'm an LHON gatecrasher. I do not have LHON. Can I still speak or am I banned? I have retinopathy of prematurity. I was born 3 months early and I was around 2 pounds. They thought I wouldn't make it. I made it, but my eyes were irrevocably blind. So I have been totally blind since birth. I've been thinking about this as I sit here today about that. In a sense, that's good because as a kid you adapt. So blind is just what I have. I've never seen, so I don't miss it that much. So blindness isn't really the barrier. But I think about parents, and my parents went through what a lot of you in the room went through. They had never met a blind person before I came, so they didn't know what to do. They have this baby that almost died. Once they realize she's alive, someone just tells them she's blind, that's it. And what do? Well, luckily for me, they were like all of you seem to be here, is they just adapted. And they treated me like a normal person who happens to be blind. An ophthalmologist, very forward-thinking one, said at the very beginning of our journey, don't pray for a miracle, treat her like everyone else, and technology will be the thing that will level the playing field. So he was pretty right about that. Now, I guess I'm sort of showing my age, but I really understood when John said about the big tape recorders and the readers, because that's what I had in university. I had in high school, instead of a locker, I had a storage closet with Braille volumes in it, so it didn't look cool. You know, everyone else had these little lockers, and I had a big storage cupboard with my electric typewriter. So I could type, but I couldn't proofread anything. And I had all these huge Braille books. So one book would be 20-something volumes. So you can't just carry around your whole book to class. You know, you have to figure out where they are and carry that. So when technology started to come on the scene, I was pretty into it because it meant I could use a computer with a screen reader and I could proofread my own material. And it's just gone leaps and bounds. So I use an iPhone. So you can still use your smartphone. And I know now when people lose vision, of course they all want to know about driving. And I'm also waiting for the self-driving vehicles. I'm pretty excited about that. But they also ask a lot about, can you still use computers and technology? And yes, you can, definitely. Apple devices, iPhone and Mac and iPads, have it built in, both for people with no vision and people with low vision. Where Microsoft is really upping their game. So they too now have a lot of accessibility features built into Windows 10. A built-in screen reader called Narrator, and also low vision, magnification, reverse contrast. I really encourage you to play with the accessibility settings of any technology you happen to have. Android phones as well, especially for people with low vision, have a lot of good things coming along. So really get to play with those things. You should try them. Also, information. Information has become so much more available. I can read news articles. I don't even begin to tell you. When I was growing up, my family would read the paper, and they'd only read me what they felt I should be interested in. So my dad, it was sports and politics, and my mom, it was, but maybe I wanted to read about, you know, pop music sensation or something, and then, no, you don't want that. Yeah, I do, actually. You know, so when I could read news for myself, that was a really amazing thing. So a lot of books now you can get, you can read, you can blow up your screen, you can make your things bigger. GPS solutions, amazing, amazing. And there's a lot of apps that are really amazing. There's one that Microsoft has called Sing AI that has several different channels. It's only for iOS at the moment. You hover it over something and it reads text to you, reads it all back. You put it near a barcode and it finds it and tells you what it is. Gone may be the day when I wash my hair with lotion instead of shampoo. Get a really interesting look. It has a light detector. Me, I'm notorious for leaving all the lights off, and my friends come over. I tell them they can turn them on whenever they want, but it has. So, so it has color identifier for identifying colors of clothes. It has document scan, and it has a really cool thing which now lets you identify what the pictures are on your phone. So lo and behold, when this came out, I opened my photos, and it was saying dark room, ceiling, wall of the thing. And I thought, oh yeah, I took a lot of pictures by mistake with my phone, and now I can just delete them off and not have to ask anybody. So it has all kinds of things. So we're well on the way to technology being included in our devices. And that is very exciting, because in the past we've had to pay a lot of money, and not to say there aren't times when you need to do that, a lot of money for technology that we need to use. A lot of things now have that built in. We have a lot of groups that can help you. I run a support email list, gttsupport@groups.io. If you do want to get in touch with me, we have telephone calls, national ones and regional ones. We have in-person meetings here in Toronto and all over, probably 20 places all over Canada. It's GTT, for Get Together with Technology, program@gmail.com. It's not queenoftechnology@gmail.com, but I could get that one maybe. That would be awesome. GTD program@gmail. So, and I can let you know all of the things that are going on to help you learn your tech. So I thought what I would do, because I'm so totally blind that I can't talk too much about low vision, I will get my friend Bram Caron, who helps with humanware products and also with canes, to talk a little bit to you about low vision and about mobility devices. And then we really want to open it to answer your questions about technology. I will just also say mobility is crucially important. So because I was blind from birth, using a cane for me was fun. Like when I was 6 and I got one, I'm like, look at me, I got something no one else has, and I can walk around. And I learned my way around before I got to be afraid of cars and other things, you know. So like, and now I have a guide dog. But learning mobility is crucially important. And to the person that asked previously about how you ask for help, the more specific you can be. So I look pretty blind, so I often do say, though, yes, I'm totally blind. I'd like some assistance. And then I'll always say, I would like you to tell me where the elevator is, or where because sometimes if you say, I'd like some assistance, they then grab you and start like pulling you somewhere. And it's like, no, I didn't want that assistance, but I want this other thing. So the more specific you can be, or they'll take you across the street and say, no, I was actually just looking for the bus stop. Thanks very much. You know, and before I pass over to Bram, I would also like to just say about Ida, like Ida has been so great, always coming to GTT night since the beginning. She's so full of curiosity and helpfulness, and like I've watched this LHON journey through her, and I just think her grace and respect, her grace and her wonderful exuberance and curiosity is just always a big, well, I don't want to say inspiration in a corny kind of blindy, corny way, but an inspiration in a good way. So I'll get Bram to talk a little about low vision, which I have absolutely not very much knowledge of, and then we'll just answer your questions.
It's always interesting speaking after Kim, because she's a little pixie and I'm a bit of an ogre here. So Kim, about 2 weeks ago, said to me, hey Bram, I'm speaking at this conference about low vision and I need your help. Will you come and speak about some of the technology that we work with? So just a little bit about myself. I was a special needs teacher for 20 years. Unfortunately, I left the classroom when my mom's cancer went into its final stages. 4 years later, she finally left us, but during that time, I was approached by one of the companies that I worked with so much for my low vision blind students, and they said, well, we're looking for someone in the Montreal, Quebec area who would do consults for us. And that's how I kind of got into more to the technology consultation side of things. So I primarily only work with Humanware. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. They're out of Drummondville, Quebec. Fantastic company. And just some of the different devices that are available, a lot of the digital devices that are available. I'm gonna just put a few out. So the first one, which is one of the most popular products, especially for people with low vision, is called the Connect 12. So the Prodigy Connect 12, it's based on a 12-inch tablet. It comes with its own little stand. I was doing a consult with a grade 2 student yesterday. That's why there's math work in there. And what's nice about this kind of a product is it's got the cameras underneath. You put your document under it. It scans it. Once it scans, you have the ability to zoom in, zoom out. It has OCR capabilities. But the other thing is that because it's based on an Android tablet, you have all of those functions as well. So we get a lot of schools, but a lot of professionals who look into this kind of a product because it basically replaces their computer, but gives them all the advantages of low vision technology that they might need. I brought a bunch of Braille stuff because I wasn't sure, but I don't think that's going to come out. There's products like digital magnifiers. This is the 8-inch Explore unit, which has the capability of up to 35 times zoom, all the different contrasts. It's also a distance camera. It's a very nice, just little handheld. Switch those around. And it's got a 5-inch brother as well, the 5-inch Explorer, which I have here, but I won't take it out. It's pretty much the same thing. Kim just finished talking about how so much can be done just on your smartphones, and it can. There are some amazing apps coming out and amazing app developers who are making things easier and easier. But it's important to remember that as you use your smartphone, your batteries start to die. So looking at the dedicated devices, especially if you're using it at full time throughout the day, is another alternative that needs to be kept in mind. The other thing Kim mentioned was GPS. Phones are fantastic for GPS, whether it's blind, square, or anything else. But there's also handheld GPS devices. So this is the Humanware Victor Trek, which is a GPS device, but it's also a daisy player and a bookshare. And what's nice about the Trek is in a couple of months it'll be using the Magellan satellites, which is the military satellites. And they're telling us it should be able to get you to about 3 feet to where you want to go. So there's a lot of different alternatives. I'm trying to think what I should go to next. There's just 2 canes.
Yeah.
Okay. What's that? I didn't hear that. The Victor, yeah, the Victor Read, the Victor Stream, the Victor Stratus. Those are all just different daisy players. The Victor Trek, which is sort of a combination of the GPS and the Victor. All of these kind of products you can either find on different websites when you do the searches, or take the time to go out to a lot of the technology fairs. I know if you're here in Ottawa, the 27th of September is the big technology fair just across the street at City Hall, where every major manufacturer and vendor in North America will be to show their products. End of October, they're in Toronto, and they kind of just move around. I'm sure in the States there's the same type of things that go on. But it's taking the time to get out to those. Yeah.
What's a daisy player?
So a daisy player, oh, okay.
I'll default to the Queen.
So a daisy player is, see, when John and I were first reading books on tape, and I got the Norton Anthology of English Literature, and it had, I don't know, 50 tapes in it or some crazy thing. And I had to skim through them all to kind of find where I needed to be. People thought that was not a very easy, practical solution to reading, because you would pick up a book and flip through. So DAISY stands for Digital Access something, I can't remember the acronym, but what it did was it puts the book into a device in a format that you can go by page number, by chapter number, by section. However, they have it marked up. So you can use an app on your phone, either Voice Dream Reader or Dolphin Easy Reader, both on Android or iOS. You can use software on your computer too, but also a dedicated book reader like the Victor Readers, the Victor Reader Trek and the Victor Reader Stream. And that way you can skip to the next chapter or the next section easily. If you can't see enough to actually read, find what you need and do long chunks of reading, it's a useful type of reader to have or type of software to use, because it means you can find a page. You can also bookmark pages or chapters or sections so that you're not doing what I did at the beginning, which is listen to almost every single tape and then knock the blocks off of my shelf and send 100 tapes to the floor and then have to pick them all up and put them in the order. I'm so grateful for Daisy, I must say. Daisy. I can mention a couple of apps when Bram mentioned magnifiers, which I do agree magnifiers are so great. Well, they're not for me great, but they're great for lots of people. But magnifying apps, there are some that are very good. For example, for iPhones, there's one called Supervision Plus, which a lot of people say is even better than the magnification you're using on your iPhone. For Android, there are as well magnification apps. So you can search for those things as well. Some people also use the cameras of your phone to take a screenshot and then blow that screenshot up for something. So there's lots of handy tips that people have using devices, and even how to use some of these magnifiers that Bram is showing you, the handheld ones. There's all different kinds with lights. There's monoculars, binoculars, just to find the right, even like Tyler was saying with eSight, to find the right devices that work for you, and they might not be what works for someone else too. So Bram has canes to show, I think. It's really important, I think, to encourage people to use a cane of some description. A mobility cane if you're at the point where you cannot see to get around safely. I know it is a very difficult pill to swallow, I guess, to use it. But it's funny how normal using a cane to me had gotten. I wrecked my knee once several years ago, and I was using a support cane along with my guide dog, and I called my mom and said, I bought a support cane, and she said, don't you think people will stare at you? And I said, don't you think they stare at me now? Oh yeah, I forgot. So canes, yes, mobility canes, and then the ID canes, and Bram's going to show you a couple of those, and then we will take some more questions too.
Kim, before we talk about the canes, can you just touch on VoiceOver and what you use it for? What you think it's good for, maybe not so good for?
So I use VoiceOver on the iPhone, which is the built-in screen reader. So a screen reader is not talking to you. A screen reader is not Siri. Thank goodness, because Siri's been really flaky lately. So people get that mixed up. A screen reader reads what is on your screen. So VoiceOver on the iPhone and the Mac is the built-in screen reader. It's found under Accessibility, under Settings, VoiceOver. If you are using Zoom and other low vision features, there's something called Speak Screen, which is like VoiceOver without the big navigation features for those of us who are totally blind and need it to just get around our phone. So VoiceOver does change the way you interact with the screen, because if you think about touching your smartphone, when you touch your smartphone, just touch something, it opens it. Now, if you're blind, that doesn't make sense, right? Because I would just touch my screen and it would open everything. It's like pushing all the elevator buttons in an elevator because they're not labeled and you don't know where you want to go, kind of thing. So it means that you have to double tap everything when you find it. So it does change in the way you interact. What I use my phone for, as Kevin was asking me what's good, I use it for email, browsing the web, text messaging, SMS, Facebook, Twitter, blogging. I use it for podcasts, music, on the air when I have my radio show to read information. I use it to read books. I pair it with a Braille display, an electronic one, or a Bluetooth keyboard, but I can use it on my own too, without those things. I use it for my Instant Pot, which is like a slow cooker thing that I can control it with my app. I use it for writing things. I use it for navigation. So some of the GPS situations, I use it for Uber Assist, which is great because then you can provide specialized notes like you have to let me know you're here because I can't see you. And you have to, I have it traveling with a guide dog and everything like that. I use it for Apple Pay, which is very accessible because if you think about if you tap your card, you don't know what the transaction was. But with Apple Pay, you can read back and see what you paid for and how much it was. Really, really good. As I said, I use Seeing AI, which Android doesn't have a version yet of Seeing AI. But again, I was able last year I got some medication from the vet, and when I opened the bottle, it didn't feel the same as previous. So I scanned it with Seeing AI and realized it was for a dog, a heavier, bigger dog than mine. So I called and I said, I think you gave me the wrong medicine because it says here, and she said, you have a guide dog, right? And I said, yeah, but I tell you, I read it on the labels with my app. And they were all like excited about that. So I use it for all of those things. I also use an app called Be My Eyes. Now, it's kind of similar to Era. I haven't really tried Era that much at all yet in here, but Be My Eyes is free, and it is like a Skype messaging call, and you call people with it, volunteers, and you ask them questions if you get stuck. I was stuck in a construction zone on a weekend, and I didn't know how to get through it, and no workers were there, of course, so I didn't know if it's safe to go out on the road or what I should do, and I called this lovely man in Ireland, and he said, oh, you're grand, and he helped me go through the construction. And it was really cool because he was really great sounding.
Can you describe how Be My Eyes works?
So you call Be My Eyes. You register either as a blind person or as a sighted person. And if you register as a blind person, when you call, it gives you a volunteer. It uses the camera of your phone like a video camera on the back. And so you'll say, as I said that day, I'm in a construction zone. I'm not sure how safe it is to walk. I don't know how long it extends. I don't know if I can go in the road. And he said, oh, just point your camera to the right. Oh, yes, there's barriers in the road. You can walk safely on the road. And then we did that. And then when he saw that it was clear for me to go back on the sidewalk, he told me I could then go back on the sidewalk. And I said, would you mind just looking ahead to see if there's anything else? And he said, yes. And he did, and he looked with my phone and said, you seem clear, you seem good from here now. It's also available now on Android, and I've used it too in those times, those blind low vision moments where you drop like this tiny thing on the floor and you're crawling around for 20 minutes and you can't find it. And a sighted person comes in and says, oh, you mean this little lid here? And you're like, oh my gosh, how many hours did I spend? I've called for things like that for organizing cans and jars. I lay them all out in a line. I don't like to make the person wait, but I'll lay them in the line and say, can you please just clarify that this is what I think it is? And they will do that really quick. So I love that app. I love it. And it's now connected to Microsoft Support Accessibility. So I love that because if your screen is totally gone, you can hold it up, and if there's any kind of message, they can read it, and it goes directly to Microsoft. So you're getting support from them, and they can see your screen with your camera of your phone. So it's a really good app. It's a lot cheaper than Ira, which is quite expensive. So out of the price range of quite a few people with low vision. So I guess, is there anything bad that I don't use my phone for? I think I've been able to find an app for almost everything that I want to do, but I will say, even though I'm the queen of technology, that it should not ever negate your basic knowledge and skills, your travel skills, your cooking skills, your navigational skills, being able to hear what's around you, being able to know. Oh, I use transit apps too, like bus apps, so that I know when my bus is coming, and even when I'm on the bus, I can get it to tell me like when to get off, so I don't stay on too long if I'm in a system like that. And I love it. I love those blindness apps for travel because in areas I don't know, they can be telling me what stores are around me and stuff, and I can tell my family, oh, we need to go there. That's an ice cream store. They said, no, there isn't. Then they look across and I'm like, oh, yeah, there is. And, you know, this summer, I said this one of the first times I've not felt like a traveling suitcase when I've been on vacation. Because when you're in your home area, you know where things are and you know, but when you're somewhere else, like it's nice to be able to contribute to the planning of activities and to say, I think we're right across from a theater. Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, so that has really been great to me. I find all of that really amazing. So I think you can mostly find things that you can use, but I really want to say you need to know your safety blindness skills. You need to know how to get around safely without apps and things telling you. You need to know how to cook safely. You need to know how to move around the world. You need to know how to ask for help. All of that technology is wonderful. It doesn't negate any of that information. So, do we want to do questions?
Do you want to do canes?
Want to do canes and then questions? We'll do some arcanes here. I have the fashionable black cane equivalent, who I hope hasn't moved out of the way over there. She's still over there?
Yeah, she's sleeping.
Okay, all right.
She's out cold.
She's almost 10, so she's not as chipper as she used to be in this one. She's my fourth guide dog, but I still also use canes. I use canes as well, so it's good to know all your options here. So, do you want to?
Sure. So about 4.5 years ago, I was approached by Ambutech. Most of you probably have Ambutech canes, whether you know it or not, especially if you're up here in Canada. They're a Canadian company outside of Winnipeg. I started working with them as their Canadian distributor, and I very quickly just became known as the cane guy, just because if you need to order a cane anywhere in Canada, whether you know it or not, your order comes through me. But what I wanted to talk about today, especially about canes, and something that Kim and I have talked about quite often, is so many people think that there are only a couple of tips that are available for canes, and only one or possibly two kinds of canes that you can get. But it's important to realize that when it comes to cane tips, a company like Ambutech has 17 different kinds of tips, depending on what kind of surface you're walking on. So a lot of the tips that most people know are things like the rolling marshmallow, you know, where it's just about an inch long cylinder that rolls. There's the rolling ball that's about the size of a small tennis ball that rolls along. The pencil tip, the regular marshmallow tip. Those are the ones that people sort of associate with canes, white canes. But what the tips that aren't really known about are tips like the Dakota disc, which is basically a small frisbee, which was designed by a father in North Dakota, that's why it's called the Dakota disc, who has a son who would be out with his friends and he had just a small marshmallow tip. And when he would go to the park, he'd have to go from the asphalt of the parking lot to the grass, then there was wood chips, then there was sand, and then there was stone, and the cane just didn't do it. So the father actually took an old frisbee and made it into a tip for his cane that would just glide over everything. Now, it's not the most durable one. It's just a piece of plastic, so it's not an everyday kind of tip, but it works really well for the occasions that you need it. It's available in white and red. For those of you who live in winter cities, the red one is one of the biggest sellers come the winter because it'll just glide over all the snow and the little mounds as you get to the sidewalks and everything. All my tips sort of migrated to the bottom of my bag.
Also, there's identification canes. So if you have some vision, but if there's times when you want people to know you have low vision at night or, you know, certain places, you can hold it in your hand. And then
I've got
there's,
an ID cane.
yeah, Bram has it. And then there's a sort of middle of the ground
But I
cane.
am not on that yet.
Oh, I thought I was helping you while you rummaged for tips.
No, I've got all the stuff already.
All right, all right. See, I'm not helpful like I was supposed to be.
This is when royalty thinks they know it all, and they don't know. So
demoted.
I know time's a bit of a factor, so I'll show two others. There's a flex tip, which is also about a cylinder, about 1.25 inches wide, but it's on a ball bearing. So a lot of people like it, especially for newer users, because as you're walking, if you hit something, it actually has a bit of a give to it, so that you're not getting your cane in your stomach. Another tip that most people have no idea, it's called the rover wheeling tip. And it basically is a small rubber wheel that could fit easily on the bottom of your tip. And we see a lot of people getting these who like to go camping, who have their cane and they need to be able to go and walk on a wooded path and not worry about your cane getting stuck on roots and rocks and bumps and everything else. So I'll skip ahead to Kim's.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead. I know you want to.
I have this kind of cane with me all the time. It's called a hybrid. It's a lot smaller and lighter than the mobility cane, but it is the same length as my mobility cane. And I have it in my bag in case something happens to my dog or she got attacked or is sick or, I just want to find something myself with my cane. And it just is easy to have with you. And if you have some low vision where maybe you're coming out of somewhere at night and you just kind of want to see, you just want to have it open for getting up and down a flight of stairs and then put it away, you can do that. It's called a hybrid cane. I love it. I've had one for 2 or 3 years and I just love it. I actually got a different color. And this is a controversial topic, and we're not really going to get into it, but I just wanted a red cane, so I got a red cane, that's all. I have a white mobility cane, but I got a hybrid in a different color just because I felt like it, and that's one of the things you can, if you feel the white cane is not what you want, I think you could get a color and just get used to having a cane. Having a cane is better than not having a cane, and if you need to have a green one to, or whatever, then I say go for that. That's what I say. This is me speaking.
So following on the color controversy, yes, canes can come in all sorts of colors, not just your white and red. This is our sample cane of all of our colors, but you can get canes in royal blue, pink, yellow, purple, emerald, orange, gold, and black. Those are all the colors that are available in different patterns, however you want. Kim's got a solid red cane. We have a lot of people who get solid colors. Just so you can see what they look like. This is a kitty cane that's just all yellow. Oh, there goes that. Sorry, Julia.
You're not being replaced, girlie.
No.
Okay.
I'll get that one after. There's a lot of people who say, well, no, there's something about the white cane, and that's what we want. And you know what? That's fine. And there are some people who, thank you very much. Is it just to come over and see the dog?
Basically, yeah.
Some people who say, well, there's something about having that white and red and having that identification. Well, one of the things that we see very often at Ambitech is a cane like the one that I'm holding now. So I've got 5 sections on this cane. The top 3 sections are in black, and it's a reflective black. All Ambitech canes are reflective. Section number 4 is in white, and section number 5 is in red. So they still have that identification. There's all kinds of patterns that you can do. We get a lot of people who call up and give us their favorite sports teams and have a cane so that if they're going out to games, they've got a cane that matches what they need. The other option, if you're not looking for a solid color or you still want that white and red, is to look at doing a highlighted cane. So a highlighted cane, instead of having your standard black handle, has a colored handle. So the colors that are available, and it's all fluorescent colors, so they're very eye-catching. But there's green, pink, orange, and blue. And your handle would be that color, your tip would be that color, and they're supposed to have it so that your joints are that color as well. So there's all kinds of different combinations that you can do if you want to add a little bit of color to your canes. The other place that we can see how canes can differ, and I'm not really going to talk about the material. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but you can get Ambitech canes in fiberglass, graphite, or aluminum. If you have a choice, always go graphite. It's the lightest one and the most durable. It's a little bit more expensive than the aluminum, but the aluminum's bend, and the graphites pretty much will last 2-3 times longer than an aluminum cane. Graphite's the way to go. Go
So
ahead.
shall we do questions?
Oh, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, sorry. I just don't know the time.
Three more things. So the last sort of thing that I wanted just to show is grips can also be different. If you don't like the standard golf grip, we do have a cork grip, which is just a cork material that does very well in all kinds of weather. A lot of people think, well, once it gets wet, it's going to fall apart, but they really don't. Having the cork grip
Can I
makes the
feel it?
cane a lot lighter as well.
I want to feel that one. Cork. Okay.
Brenda has one.
Oh, interesting.
And then the last cane that I'm going to show you, it's our Ambutech Sexy Cane. It is a very sexy cane. And when I order it, I always ask for the Sexy Cane. So the Sexy Cane is an all-black cane with a wood handle and a ceramic tip. And we get a lot of people who will do this kind of cane for work or if they go out for special occasions, just because it's a little bit classier to do a solid color and then a nice wood grip.
Wow.
Just by a show of hands, how many cane users do we have in the room?
How many?
Okay.
None?
No, we do. There's a few out there. The last thing, and then I will stop talking. The last thing, for those of you who are cane users and you're using an Ambutech cane, how many of you say, oh, my cane locks all the time and it's really hard to take it apart? Every day. How old's your cane?
It's about a year old.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now why. So that gentleman right there tells me it locks. It means he's a leaner. It means he leans on his cane. All right? So, all Ambutech canes as of about 3 years ago have the new joints. They're sort of cone shape, and they're made to lock because you can get a lot more information from a rigid cane than you can from a folding cane. So if you actually take your cane, you give it a bang on the ground, it won't cut. Oh, that one did, but it's a lot rigid. It's a lot harder to take apart. The trick to get it undone, on the handle there's a flat side. Hold it out in front of you at 45-degree angle, give it a smack, turn it around so the flat side faces down, 45-degree angle, give it a smack, and then the cane just comes apart because the canes are meant to lock. Are you going to remember that for
He's
like
going to
later
do it
today?
right now. Look. Move out of the way, you people. So shall we take questions, or are we watching the cane?
I think maybe what we can do is we can cut for break, and if anybody's got questions, they
Yeah,
can come
I'm
up
going
and
to
ask Kim
be,
and Bram.
I can stay up here, or I can, is that the easiest?
Yeah, I think up here.
Okay, I'll stay up here
So
like the royalty.
we'll cut for break for about 15 minutes or so.